This episode of Simone Loves Hour is sponsored by TDS Accounting and Tax Services, where we provide a wide range of services. We provide accounting services tailored to your specific business needs. We also provide personal and business tax services. So give us a call today at 202-299-4082. Again, 202-299-4082 to set up an appointment today.
Hello, and welcome to Simone Loves Reality Radio, where we'll be hearing uncut, uncensored conversations about prison love, mental health, addiction, wrongful convictions, and much, much more. I'm your host, Simone Love. Thank you for tuning in, and please enjoy the show.
Listen up, listen in, listen in. Tell your mom, tell a friend, tune them in. Listen up, listen in, listen in. Tell your mom, tell a friend, tune them in. Love, 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 love. The Simone Love Show. Love, 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 love. The Simone Love Show.
Hello, everyone. We are here at the Speak Up Convention for Veteran Services hosted by Mr. Joseph Walls. And I want to thank Mr. Walls for having me here today to provide coverage for this informative event. I just want to read something to you that was provided in the information of who is Veteran Services. We are all veterans. Most of us among Delaware's walking wounded warriors. We are also something else. We are all prisoners or ex-prisoners. We have been on the inside and the outside, in the military and in the prisons, and we have not forgotten our brothers and sisters left behind in prisons. Yes, we are survivors. We have been tested in battle. Some of us are dead, yet many more of us are alive. We mean alive in the broadest sense of the word, while some of us are still amazed that we survived the hell of our imprisonment. We are alive to what was perpetrated upon us, and we are determined to ensure that what happened to us does not happen to our children and our grandchildren. Those words are so powerful, and with my father being a World War II veteran and my daughter being a military Army veteran, all of this is so important to me and to us, and also with my son, although not a veteran, but still a victim of our prison system. And I thought it was very important for me to read those words to you so you could understand the program and what is going on today at this Speak Up convention. So what I'm going to do is just let you hear some of the speakers and some of the attendees of this event. First up, we'll be hearing from our host, Mr. Joseph Walls.
Got my Barry White. Let's get it on. That was a good friend of mine, Asa Johnson. How much time did you do? 20 years in the prison system. And, you know, he's a prime example of the fact that when you do get out of prison, you can leave all that behind and build your life without forgetting where you were at. So he takes that to heart and takes that into the community. So, we're really lucky to have him here speaking, giving us a chance to move forward and the strength to do so. We had a couple people lined up that were supposed to be coming in, but they ain't here yet. Got some calls about people being late. So, we have somebody here who's speak for herself. I'd like to have her come on, Ms. Dole, and maybe give you a little bit of what she's been going through with her family member being killed, the unresponsiveness, please, for the case to be heard. Commissioner McDonald, if you will. Somebody say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I really can't hear so good, so please make sure you speak into
Oh,
the
I gotta
mic.
get loud, so that's fine. You'll be able to hear me, I promise.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. My name is Keandra McDowell. I am a community activist, not just one communities, but all the communities throughout the state of Delaware. What started me on this path was September 23rd, 2015. My brother is Jeremy McDowell. He was gunned down by Wilmington police officers while sitting in his wheelchair. They shot him 16 times until he fell out of his wheelchair. He did not have a weapon, but the Attorney General, the current and the former Attorney General, said that he did. I have been fighting up and down the states to get justice for my brother. 4 years after he was murdered, that's when they released a picture of this supposedly gun that they found on my brother that day. 4 years after. Every day I fought, protesters showed up at their houses. Anywhere you could think of, asking, well, if you said that my brother had a weapon, at least let me and my family see one. 4 years later, they did release the weapon in a video, and from the evidence, to me, it didn't add up right, and to many people in the community. So I've been fighting ever since for justice for my brother, but in this fight for justice, I met some very important people, people with different backgrounds of life. And I noticed that it's just not about police brutality. My brother had to be the face of police brutality because now he has a hashtag. But there's injustices in Delaware from many different angles. As far as the prison system, we have it in our education system. We have it in, pretty much everything in the state of Delaware. And I joined forces with a lot of people. I'm learning as I go, so I don't know everything. And I just feel honored to be here today to listen to everyone's stories and to hopefully for everybody to come together as one. Because one thing I learned is that the only thing that we lack in the state of Delaware is us coming together. We have so many different organizations and agencies fighting for the same cause, but everybody is fighting for it in different avenues. Now, if we come together, imagine how powerful that we all will be. We will all be one voice instead of 50,000 voices. We all will be able to get everything done that we are demanding for. And one thing that I tell the young people that I speak to every day is that you don't ask for anything. Asking is like giving them an escape route. You demand it. When you demand it, your fight is even stronger. So instead of asking people for what we need in our communities and for our families and loved ones, we need to demand it. Demanding them is not allowing them to escape or make another route to go through. Well, okay, so we're asking for justice for Jeremy McDowell. If I'm asking, you're going to say, oh, well, if I can give it to you on this avenue and this will equal up to justice for Jeremy McDowell. No, I'm demanding it. So when I demand it, you can't wiggle your way out of it. And that's just what I do. I just feel honored to be here, to meet new people in this fight for justice, because at the end of the day, we're all fighting for justice in this crooked system. So we're stronger if we come together. It doesn't matter your color, your race. It doesn't matter. We're all people. We're all human. And we're fighting together. So I feel honored to hopefully have a bigger family now that can fight with me and I can fight with you guys. Thank you.
You know? And then when you don't have a job and you don't have a house to go to, and you're not supposed to steal anything because that's not right. Yes, we have welfare programs, and we're spending in America over $1 trillion a year on different kinds of welfare programs. So even if you've gotten food, the humiliation, the degradation of not working is really painful, right? And of course, that's what stimulates people to steal and to do illegal things, drugs, right? And I would suggest to you that the exact same motivation for criminal behavior could be shown in a guy like Jeff Bezos. and Elon Musk. He's now the richest, right? But Jeff Bezos was. Now here's a guy that has so much money, he can't figure out what to do with it. So he goes for a ride into space, right? We would have liked to see him stay there, maybe, but he goes for a ride into space. And yet, he cannot bring himself to pay medical insurance for his employees. The fear of want breeds the worship of wealth. And the more wealth you have, when there is the fear of want, the more admiration, the more envy you enjoy. And of course, that's what makes a man strive to get more and more wealth when he couldn't spend what he has in 100 lifetimes. And so it's exactly the same thing that makes a person sell drugs and drive around in a fancy car and everything else. The fear of want breeds that worship of wealth. And of course, if there were enough jobs to go around and poverty was a thing of the past, we know it's clearly, when you look at how productive we are, we know that poverty is not a natural thing, not a natural outcome. But as long as there is the fear of want, there will be the worship of wealth. And so we have to create a society in which everyone has an opportunity to make a living and to enjoy a decent life. And we certainly know we have the potential. So now that I've heard myself talk up here, thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to the next session. Bye.
You can lean on me. She's like, hey, she's my sister. Yeah. But Josie, she's been in the legislative process in the House, and there's a lot of these legislators from back in the day. And I was hoping that maybe she can talk a little bit about how somebody like you would go about getting the attention of elected officials, and then being able to get that elected official to do something for them. Right. You love me.
Thank you so much for having me to come up here just to say a few words. There is so much that I can say, but it would take me years, and we don't have all that time. But first of all, I just want to recognize Mr. Whitman, Earl Whitman. He has been a leader in the community and the state of Delaware for a long time, just like you. So I just want to say hi, thank you for your services, and I know you're still out there doing whatever you can do to support and help people. My main thing I want to tell, I'm glad he asked me to say something about the legislators and the politicians. I'm one for not biting my tongue. There's some things I want to say, I can't say, but when it comes to me saying what I think is right, I'm going to say it. And if you don't like it, so be it. You just don't work. That's how it is. And I know a lot of the elected officials, and like I said one time, I heard one of them say, well, I'm here and I can't do that. That's all well and good. We understand that. But don't stand in front of a bunch of people and say, I can't do. Just say, well, I'll try. At least say I'll try. But don't say I can't, do nothing. Well, them kind of politicians I feel we don't need. So it's voting season. Everybody knows elections within 10 days. It is so serious. It is very serious that we get out and vote. And I just had a little plan. I was going to say, who in here has someone incarcerated? And I'll be the first one to put my hand up. Now, when Mr. Walls had this event a month or so ago, there was a room full. But it don't take a whole lot of people to mobilize people. So if us viewers here, and we have loved ones that are incarcerated, we can go back, and the next time he has this event, we can bring a family member or somebody else.
But
Who was the person who decided to leave?
that was Murray. Her name is Murray. She's running for Attorney General.
Oh, she? Okay.
And she just wanted to come over and let people know that there's an alternative. like Senator Pinckney said, as we move forward, we're going to start identifying people that need to be retired. You know, because there are people blocking our way, and God bless them, they did a good job, everything, and now pack your bags and leave. And let somebody new get in there. And maybe we can try something that will actually work.
On the phone right now from Delaware Correctional Center, Simone, I have Mr. Michael Jones.
I need an independent conviction integrity unit here in Delaware. In 2005, my judge was overheard at a restaurant by two civilians talking about she don't care what nobody say, she's gonna have the last say, she's gonna make sure I die. I was 17 years old, a juvenile in 1999 when I was framed for these crimes. I was illegally arrested, maliciously prosecuted, and lawfully convicted. Two detectives been arrested to solve this case, falsified and fabricated sworn statements in an affidavit of probable cause to arrest me, similar to what the detectives did in the Breonna Taylor case. And just like that case, these detectives should also be held criminally responsible for taking my life as well. A sentence to life in jail is death. Prosecutors directed every state's witness to lie under oath, and my judge made sure everything went the prosecutor's way so she could get her wish, which was to kill me. The most shocking thing is, Kathy Jennings, the now Attorney General, Robert Reed was an honest and respectable person. In 2005, she interviewed the two people who heard this judge say these horrible, unprofessional, murderous talk in a restaurant to assess their credibility, and Kathleen Jennings said they were truthful and wrote an affidavit about it, and she told my lawyers to file a motion for a new trial and a motion for the judge to recuse herself from my case, in which they did, but this judge was above the law. She denied both motions about her and what she did herself. Kathy Jennings is well aware I'm sitting here right in jail, that because of the backdoor deals that's done every day in Delaware's judicial system, she just letting it be. If you read this evidence, it will shock. This judge is not only caught in the restaurant talking about killing me, she also promised lawyers she appointed to represent me a big personal favor for my case. This is all in black and white too. This is not just me talking. This is in black and white. This is certified court documents. It don't lie. So can't nobody say it didn't happen. It's in the courthouse, certified court documents in my case. It's all in black and white. I was facing the death penalty. This is an intent murder / conspiracy to commit murder by a judge, a prosecutor, and police detectives and court-appointed lawyers. Everyone needs to be aware of this, because this is what goes on in all cases here in Delaware's judicial system, especially when it's poor minorities who they consider easy targets. It's nothing more than favor for favor and backdoor deals between judges, prosecutors, and some lawyers. We need an independent conviction integrity unit here in Delaware, just like they have in neighboring states like Philadelphia, that will not compromise and continue with this Delaware way of corruption within the judicial system. There are hundreds of people sitting here right now that are innocent, their whole lives have been taken away because of a favor for a favor, win at all cost attitude amongst Delaware's police and Attorney General's office. My case needs to be reviewed and I need to be set free. I challenge anyone to read what's been done to me, and I promise you, you will no longer trust anything you read in the New German newspaper or the Delaware judicial system. And all that matters is, thank you all for listening.
That's one of the things that we're trying to do, is to give voice to people that don't have a voice. That's why we're calling this the Speak Up Convention, because we want to get out into the community. That there's an organization that is growing, that is all about empowering people. speak up.
told that
You know, we can speak up as individuals,
told
but as a
that
collective
lady
unit,
was running Murray and I'm
we have a much more deeper
gonna
and broader voice.
she can
Some of the
she can
people
use them as she
that
wishes.
I know appreciate when,
So
I mean,
I'm gonna do that.
you can imagine what it must be like a legislator, you know, I mean, when you're running for office and you don't know how many votes you're going to get, and the emotional ups and downs. We have somebody here now that she may be able to speak a little bit about what it takes to have courage to get up every day and go to fight for what's right. A lot of times without recognition, without anybody knowing what you're doing. I'd like to bring forward Representative Anton Wilson, if you come up and maybe say a few words about what it's like
Representative
to
Anton.
feel maybe alone sometimes.
She did a talk.
Because that's one thing we don't need to do.
Yeah. She heard yeah. No, she had left. She just left. Yeah, I put the phone down.
Good afternoon,
So,
everyone,
listen.
and my apologies, good afternoon, I didn't realize I was on the program. I heard the title of the event, Speak Up, and so I knew I showed up to listen. Not to say much, but to listen and to learn. My name is Medina Wilson Anton. I'm the state representative for the 26th district, which is about 15 minutes south of here, Newark Bear area. I was first elected in 2020, and I'm now running for re-election, and as Ms. Murray mentioned, general election is about 10 days away, and so I'm praying for victory on November 8th. And really, I'm excited for the election to be over and behind us because I want to get focused again on legislation, on actually doing something about all these problems that we know exist in our communities. I'll be honest with you all, I'm not super aware of the issue of incarceration in our state. I know we have a problem, at least one problem. And again, that's why I'm here today, is because I know I need to learn so that I can be a better advocate for our communities. And to your prompt that you shared kind of about what it's like to be alone in some instances, it's frustrating. It's extremely frustrating. And what's really frustrating about it is when we don't even agree on the problem that we have, right? It's one thing when we agree on there's a problem in our criminal justice system and now how do we get to a solution? And we can argue about the ways to get to a solution, but when people don't even see a problem, that's frustrating. And so part of my job is to bring my colleagues along and to educate them as well. So I'm here to learn. I've learned a lot in the past half an hour of just sitting here and listening. And I hope to spend at least another 20 minutes with you all, hearing your stories, learning about some of the issues we have in our system. And I will just share that one of the folks who was here earlier, Senator Marie Pinckney, she's a huge ally for us in this fight. She's chairing the Corrections Committee in the Senate. And she's someone who I always go to when I have questions, when I hear about possible ideas on how we can fix problems. I already texted her, hey, Maria, have you heard of this independent commission for sentencing? Have you heard of that as an idea? Can we work on that together? And she's, for me, she's kind of like a guiding star in our legislature because she is an abolitionist. She doesn't even want us to have prisons. So I always go to her to learn about how can we make our state, our society one where we don't need to lock people up at all. And we can rehab people so they can come back to our communities where we want them to be succeeding. So she knows I'll be blowing her up for the rest of the day. And I hope to win the election in about 10 days and be able to work with her some more in the next 2 years so we can fix some of these problems together. Thank you for listening to me. And like I said, I'm going to continue to listen to all of you.
Anyway, the next person that's going to come up and speak is somebody that has been doing a lot. Her and her partner in crime, Melissa Minor Brown, state representative. Senator Pinckney, she's the chairman of the Corrections Committee in the Senate. And Melissa Minor Brown is the chairman of the Corrections Committee in the House of Representatives. These two women together have been making tremendous strides in getting legislation passed that benefits the lives of people in prison and the lives of their family members outside of prison. Of course, there's a lot of work to be done, and I'm going to give it up in her own words, how she's doing, and how she needs support from us. Senator Pickett.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marie Pinkney. I represent Delaware's 13th Senatorial District, which is parts of Newark, Newcastle, and Bear. And as Joe said, I serve as the chair of the Senate Corrections and Public Safety Committee alongside my good friend, yes, Representative Melissa Brown. We like to get in good trouble together. So we do a lot of work around corrections, around public safety. Thank you, Joe, for having me and for another amazing event. He has been doing such good work around the corrections space for so long. One of the things that I've noticed since taking the chairmanship of corrections is that this is a population of people who very easily get looked over, get left behind, do not get cared about, and that policy doesn't really often get passed to support. However, since myself and Representative Minor Brown have started working together, we have passed a number of what I think are really, really important pieces of legislation and have several more to go. One that I'm most excited about, we passed this year. It is a legislation called Ban the Box. And what that bill did was make it so that our colleges in Delaware will no longer ask about criminal background, so that a criminal background won't be a barrier to getting into higher education. And so we worked with all of our major schools, Wilmington University, Del Tech, UD, Del State, to pass that legislation, but it will be impacting all of the schools in Delaware, so we're very excited about that one. Representative Minor Brown shared a number of bills this year around maternal health care. Two of those were focused on the Department of Corrections. So one of them will prohibit the Department of Corrections from shackling pregnant women, starting in their second trimester and going up to, I believe it's 13 weeks postpartum. As well as making sure that, or requiring that the Department of Corrections will offer doula services and midwifery services. So that is a piece of legislation I'm very excited about. Talking on the reentry side, one that we did this year that we found was really important was to help speed up the pardons process. A barrier that we found, the Lieutenant Governor found in the pardons process is that when people are going to get the mental health evaluation that is required for the pardons process, they're required to get that evaluation from a psychiatrist. But we don't have very many psychiatrists in the state of Delaware at all, so you could be waiting weeks, months, paying astronomical fees to try to get this one piece of the puzzle. And so what we did is make it so that social workers and other mental health providers are able to do those mental health evaluations to help speed up the pardons process. And we have some things coming on the horizon, two that I am chairing or shepherding. One seems like a simple bill, but in essence it is, but it's mostly to, again, recognize that the people that are in our prisons are people, and that they are human. And so this bill is on what we're calling people first language. So instead of referring to people in prisons as inmates, we're going to be changing the code so that people in our prisons will be referred to something else. We're staying very open to how we change that language. We want to get feedback from people of what would be the most appropriate, but we know that just referring to people as inmates is degrading and dehumanizing, so we'll be doing some changes around that piece of the code. And then one of the bigger pieces of legislation that we'll be working on, myself alongside of the ACLU, is doing a complete rewrite of probation. And so that bill is actually already filed. It's Senate Bill 345. We filed it this year, but it will run next year. And it's a total rewrite of probation, making it so that probation is less about punishing people.
After this short break, we'll be hearing from a gentleman who was sentenced to over 100 years and is now a free man. And also we'll be speaking with Julie Ann Murray, who is running for Attorney General of Delaware. She sits down and speaks with Simone Love. You don't want to miss this conversation, so make sure you keep it locked right here on redmediaradio.com. I'm Simone Love, and after my son was sentenced to life plus 527 years, I took on some of the guilt for his predicament, which I portray in this next release titled Sorry, available now on most streaming networks. I'm so sorry. Living single life ain't easy. This song is for all the single parents out there that's holding it down on your own. And nobody's perfect, and I just want to let you know that it's okay to say I'm sorry if it's pain I left you. Sorry if I disappointed you. I'm so sorry. Living single life ain't easy. Living without wealth can get the best of me. Sorry for the pain I left you. So sorry if I disappointed you. A parent's love is unconditional. Single parent home, no excuse but not traditional. I'm so sorry. 2 jobs holding it on your own ain't easy. Be cautious of those you introduce into their lives. Believe me, and I know. Sorry if I disappointed you. I'm so sorry. Living single life ain't easy. Living without wealth can get the best of me. Living single life ain't easy. I'm so sorry. Living single life ain't easy. Because it is our jobs to be that of a nurturer for our children. So I always wonder, could I have, should I have, could I have? Should I have assured you read more books? Should I have been cautious what I do? Could I have, should I have, should I have? Oh yeah. Should I have assured you understood? Could I have assured you was secure? Could I have, should I have? Oh yeah.
Flemings, and I'm here to tell a little bit about my story. What happened, how I went to jail. I was about 20, 21. I had just turned 22 actually, and I had got locked up for a couple of burglaries. But later on, when I was incarcerated, they came with more, trying to say I did more burglaries and more robberies. And so when I prepared to go to court, once I got to court and I started doing better, I went to court like I think 2 times before they came with a plea, because they came with a whole lot of other charges. So I had no choice. So I took the plea, and with that plea, I didn't. Now all the time that came with it, I didn't know that the sentence was going to be like that. They gave me 135 years to be exact. That's what it was, 135 years.
I'm sorry. So did you realize when you were signing this plea that it was for 100 and some odd years, or did they change it up on you once you got into the courtroom?
No, at the beginning, the guy told me it wouldn't be for 135. He said it probably would be for 95. That's what he told me. But after it was all said and done, that's what I had. So I went to jail, and I went to jail. I was in 3 states and 4 different jails. I went to Broadmeadow, and then I was in Gander Hill, and then I was in Smyrna, and then from Smyrna they shipped 300 of us to Virginia, and I was down there for like 3 years. Then I came back up to Smyrna, and then from there I went to parole a couple times, and they shot me down. And one last time the guy was telling me that, if I go to V Building and do this group, that he would give me parole, in which he did, and because I thought I was never going to get out of there.
So what was the V building? What did that entail?
It's a drug program building.
Okay.
Yeah, because a lot of people that come there selling weed, coke, and all that, but I wasn't there for selling drugs, but they still want you to go through that because there's certain little programs in there that guys need.
Is that at a different location? Or
no, it's in the jail. It's at the back of the jail. You know what I mean? Then you got guys in there, that teach class. Like I was in there, I was teaching class how to go in front of parole and talk, because a lot of guys didn't have, that. They wasn't that like that. So, and then from there, once I went to parole, like I said, they gave it to me, and then I went to work release down Georgetown. I was in Georgetown for like 6 months, and once I made parole, I was out on the street, and I was doing good and working. Once the corona hit, all that ran me all the way up here. I guess it was all in God's plan, because I would have never met you. I would have never been, me, because I was still living downstate. But I came all the way, up here, because they ran me up here. You know what I mean? But being in there, though, like, it's the mental health and education and the food, definitely the food and the medical down there is terrible. They need to come through there and see, because they be having, Mercer and all types of stuff be running through there. And them guys down there, they don't care. You know what I mean? They don't care. They just put you, anywhere. And it's so overpacked. And down there in Gander Hill, you got 3 people in the cell that's made for 1 person. You know what I'm saying? Hell, you got a guy on the floor, so when you jump down to get up to use the bathroom, this guy's head is right by the door. Now you in there arguing and running because you got to use a bathroom, and what are you going to do?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm saying you living in there like animals. That's how they have you. Living in there like animals. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm glad. Thank you for sharing your story. I'm glad that you were ultimately released.
Yes,
I know
me too.
getting 100 and some odd years, you probably thought you would never see
the light of day.
Yes.
Like I told you, when I got out, I kissed the ground, because I said I was not out here for 31 years.
So it gives the other guys hope to know that don't give up.
Don't give up. That's all I did, because I don't know if we have enough time, but I got another part to the story. But maybe the next time when I see you,
no, go ahead, tell me.
Like the education. When I went to jail, I had like 8th grade education, reading and writing and all that. So when I got there, I said, after about, I guess, 6 or 7 years, because I was still a little knucklehead. I was running around doing all the guys do in jail, everything, be acting up, getting write-ups. But my mom told me, she said, you were in there, since you're spending that time in there, you need to get your GED or high school diploma. So I said, okay. So I started going to school. And back before I got locked up, on the west side, I was going to art class. You know what I mean? So I started going to art class down there. Once I started doing that, I started getting into groups. I started doing everything like that. And I started teaching arts class. I was teaching the A's class. You know what I mean? All that stuff like that. Once I got the high school diploma, you know what I mean? And I really, really felt better. You know what I mean? Because I said, it's only 2 ways. Once you get to jail, it's only 2 ways you're going to bit. Either the time gonna do you, or you're gonna have to do the time. You know what I'm saying? What I mean by that is they'll shoot you up with some Thorazine. They'll take and lock you down, tie you down, shoot you up, and by the time somebody see you, you wouldn't even recognize them. Get their brain be fried. They be gone. And this is what they do to guys that who rebel in there. They shoot them up with this stuff. Even if you don't want to take it, then once they shoot you up, now you hooked. Just like this dope out here, you go get your cup. That's all they say, medication. Yeah, you want a cup, dude? Yeah, you go right up there, shot, and go right to sleep because they want to keep you not rowdy. So this is the stuff that they do. You know what I mean? Like that. So if you, it's either or, you know what I mean? And I made up my mind. I'm not gonna do that. You're not gonna feed me that. It's bad enough I'm in here for 100 years, so I might as well do something creative when I'm here. You know what I mean? It's good and bad in everything that you do. You know what I mean? I'm saying if you choose to do the right thing, like I chose all them years, and God was with me, and I was blessed that I wasn't really hurt coming through there, because I've been in some scraps and scrapes, but it's jail, so that's to be expected. Right. But like you said, give everybody else hope, man.
Okay. I am here with Mrs. Murray, who is running for Attorney General. Now, I gave you, Miss Murray, a little briefing of some of the issues that we're having currently with some of the criminal justice reform that is going on in the system. One, my son was sentenced to 12 consecutive life sentences for a crime that did not involve any murder, any rape, or anything of that. He was sentenced under the 3-strike law.
Under federal or state? Just
under state.
Okay.
He's actually down in Smyrna, Delaware.
Okay.
We have also another gentleman whose name is Mark Bartell, who was accused of raping his wife, got 27 years, but the DNA was not his. Another gentleman named Michael Jones that we discussed also, we didn't discuss Bartell, but Michael Jones, who was committed of murdering 3 people, I believe.
Accused of it?
Accused of murdering 3 people. He was convicted, and he got 3 life sentences. He was sentenced as a juvenile, and he is the only gentleman left in the state of Delaware that, after the law changed, that said that we're not going to give juveniles life sentences.
Right.
He's the only one left in Delaware that is still who still has 3 life terms, that was never resentenced.
Okay.
Also, his judge was found in a credible statement from the current Attorney General, Kathleen Jennings, a statement that stated that credible witnesses observed his judge, Peggy Abelman, in a restaurant, Phoebe's Fishery on Lancaster Avenue, discussing his case in detail, how she was going to assure that he was dead, and she couldn't believe how, obviously her and his attorney had some type of dispute, because she was pretty upset with him.
Okay.
They also went back and forth in their motions, and his attorney stated that
So his defense attorney
stated in a motion, and I have a copy of that as well, that stated, I didn't want to take this case in the first place. The court is the one that offered me a big personal favor. Like I said, I have all the evidence, and I'm going to make sure you get a copy so that you can. But based on what I'm telling you, first of all, give us a little bit of history about yourself, and then tell me how you feel about what we just discussed as well.
Well, first, this will part. I'm 52 years old, okay? And I went to law school at the age of 38. So I became an attorney when I was 41. So I've been practicing a little over 10 years.
Wow.
And I had my own firm in Sussex County, and I did kind of estate planning, real estate settlements, that kind of stuff. And in 2015, I decided I was going to do criminal defense.
Wow.
So I spent 5 years from 2015 to 2020 doing criminal defense. And when I decided to do it, my partner is a gentleman named Ron Phillips, who has been a criminal defense attorney since the early 90s, maybe mid-90s. He will not be happy I said early 90s, mid-90s.
Okay.
I decided to do it because I am very passionate about the Constitution. And I think that the Sixth Amendment right to effective representation is critical.
Okay.
I just do. So I asked Ron if I could mentor with him and spend some time with him, but ultimately I became what was called, I worked for the Office of Conflicts Counsel. So in criminal defense you have the public defender, but if you have a multi-defendant case, they have to outsource the other defendants. The public defender can't represent two defendants in the same case from a conflict standpoint. So I was what was called conflict counsel.
Okay.
And I was conflict counsel in Superior Court. So when I decided to do criminal defense, I went straight to felonies in Superior Court and spent 5 years representing defendants. And one of the things that I learned, several things, but one is everything isn't equal. There is bias. Some of it is people don't even know that they have. Others is much more direct than that. I represented every single client that I had individually. I did not paint in broad strokes, but people tend to do that. So people make assumptions, about somebody. And, and one of the things for me that so I am running for Attorney General, which is the lead prosecutor for the state. And people say, why would a criminal defense person want to become a prosecutor? And my response to that is, don't you think that I've seen the problems?
Right. So you gotta.
So I have a much broader understanding than somebody who has been a prosecutor their whole life. And from the standpoint of trying a case, if I can, criminal defense attorneys can become prosecutors because you understand how a case operates and and what has to happen there. Prosecutors can't necessarily become a criminal defense attorney because you have to be able to argue and make the pitch.
Gotcha.
In a prosecutor side of it is it's just the facts, or what they're saying are the facts, and then from the defense side, you have to take that, you have to shape it, you have to argue it. So it's really, about the ability to make the pitch. If you're on the defense side of it. So for me, I took that incredibly seriously, and I will tell you some of the things that I learned that are in play that I didn't realize until I became a criminal defense attorney. So here's my for instance, that people say that you are innocent until proven guilty, and that's just not true. It happens when you go to trial is when that presumption supposedly attaches. But for the fact of the matter is, from the very first interaction with law enforcement, you're presumed guilty. That is something that a lot of people don't know, and I think that was a bit of a surprise for me. All of us, from our very early on have learned you're innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
Well, you know what? There are people have blinders on and come in, and police officers do it too. They go in with who they think is the person that did it. And that may or may not be true. So those are the kinds of biases that I'm talking about that surprised me. And so from my perspective, I look at things and I hear stories and because I represented people who were facing life sentences, and I knew based on what I was able to do with it that they should be found not guilty. And I fought for that. So I actually was lucky in that juries, I'm good in front of a jury, and they understood, I hammered home the idea that you have to have a clean slate. Whatever you have in your mind, you can't look at this person, male, female, black, white, whatever it is, you can't look at them and have any preconceived notions. You have to look at exactly what is presented, and you still get to use your common sense. So some of what you're telling me shocks me. In terms of it just is, it feels unjust to me. And I think that I know that I have known as a candidate who's running that, because I'm coming from the place of there are some broken things here that we have to deal with. For me, I am very open-minded to finding this kind of stuff out. Why are we, just because I am the top cop of the state, okay, does not mean that I have to be 100% pigeonholed into everybody's guilty, and there's no gray areas. There's all sorts of gray areas. So some of what you're describing to me, so I know that statutorily the General Assembly has talked about some of the people who were sentenced as habitual offenders, for instance, which is similar to the 3 strikes. And under the habitual offender statute, they have been talking about legislatively revisiting some of that in terms of people who were sentenced that way, basically being able to petition for a modification or a relook. Okay, I don't think that it passed. You might know that better than I do.
There was a bill back in 2017 that was kind of giving people relief, but not in a broader aspect, more for non-violent charges and things of that nature.
Okay, so I am, I am open. I guess is what I would say to talking to people, building some coalitions, and all right. So one of the coalitions for me that is a really big deal. It doesn't necessarily apply to what you're describing because you've got people who are not getting out of jail.
Correct.
Yes. But just to give you kind of an idea where my head is, is that when we have people who are not sentenced to life, who are going to get out one day, making the time in jail more productive. And what I mean by that is we need to be educating. We need to be giving job skills. We need to, when somebody gets out of jail, we need to be putting up a path for success, instead of roadblock. So I'm, that's something, super focused on. Okay? That's not to say that someone who is sentenced to life imprisonment doesn't matter to me. Okay, I'm just, this is when you're on the campaign, you learn all sorts of things. So I had not heard these stories. But there is, I think the biggest lesson that people need to understand is that no story is the same. Everybody has a different set of circumstances, reasons for why, whatever it is happened, whether it is, what happened in the situation like with your son, what happened in terms of, what drove him to, to commit the crime in the first place, what, all of that is part of the story. And, and I think that, it's always worthwhile to revisit that. I do.
Now there is, in a lot of states, they have what we call an integrity unit. That I believe there was a bill passed in the packet that Mr. Walls has. It may have some information. But it seems as though Delaware doesn't have this, where we will look into detail for wrongful convictions and wrongful sentences. Are you open to having that integrity unit begin in the state of Delaware when you become Attorney General?
I hadn't thought about it, but yes, and I'll tell you why. It's possible for an innocent person to be convicted.
Yes.
I know that.
Yes.
So I think that the idea that we could have people that were convicted, that didn't actually commit the crime, I know that can happen.
Right.
So I think that you always have to have some sort of, I'm going to use the word remedy, from the standpoint of whether it's a unit that looks into that. But no, I think that's important.
Right, and this is the last question, and I know they want you to speak today, and I'm so glad that you took the time to speak with me. I appreciate it. Also, with wrongful sentencing, for example, and I'll just be blunt, we have a white man who has a shootout with the police, okay? Another man, black man, who supposedly had a gun, I believe he did have a gun, was running away from the cops. The white man who has a shootout with the police receives 6 years. the black man who's running away, who has a gun, you know, we're not excluding it, has a gun,
but didn't shoot at him,
gets 36 years. So there's clearly a discrepancy in the sentencing structure here in Delaware. Again, when we talk about my son who was sentenced to 12 life terms, his charges were robbery, and his 3 strikes prior to that were possession of a firearm, conspiracy, and attempted robbery, I believe. So we're not calling them mediocre. People need to do their time, because I too am a victim, and I understand where you have to see both sides of it, okay? Because the gentleman who victimized me is now in jail himself. But at the same time, I'm representing those who have committed crimes and need some assistance in this imbalance in the justice system. So what are your thoughts about that?
Am I allowed to say it pisses me off? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's an understatement, actually. I mean, and if people don't get my facial expression, but as soon as you told me, well, no, I mean, it's not fair.
No.
Yeah, and, you know, I mean, I can tell you, I did an interview earlier this year where I was talking to somebody, a black gentleman who was talking about something and, you know, basically saying things aren't equal. And I said, you're talking to somebody who knows that firsthand. You know, and I didn't care as a defense attorney. You know, you got 100% of me. But would I believe, do I think that there are biases? I started this by saying there are.
Yes.
You know, what I want to commit to is that my office is not going to be part of that. You know, I mean, so I want to look at, you know, I realize there's a whole lot of cases going on, you know, but to the degree that we can look at individual circumstances, you know, and things, you know, just, you know, and be equal,
right?
You know, about that, I want to do that.
Okay.
I think that will increase trust with the public. I mean, because, I mean, you hear stories like that. What is that doing? That's just making the divide even bigger. And when I say the divide, people who think, you know, all criminals bad, you know, and then you've got people over on the side, you know, and I will tell you, people, you know, I mean, so we might as well say this, I am the Republican candidate. Shouldn't matter.
No.
You know, this is about enforcing the law, and it's a nonpartisan office. You know, but I can tell you that I have talked to people before who basically, you know, as soon as they go, you know, all criminals, I was like, shut your mouth.
Right.
You don't know what you're talking about. Just about every single one of us has just, you know, has done something they weren't supposed to do. We just didn't get caught.
Exactly.
You know, and so this kind of pie in the sky, you know, painting like that, I don't subscribe to it. And so I'm way different than what most people would expect for an AG candidate. But I think it's well past time for this.
Okay.
You know, that we need somebody who actually has been on that defense side of it to come in and go, whoa, wait a minute. You know, I mean, I was asked about Operation Safe Streets and how I feel about it. And I was like, there's some unconstitutional stuff going on there right now that I'm not on board with.
Well, I absolutely, positively appreciate you talking to us. I definitely agree. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. We want the best person who's going to deal with some of the issues that we are having a problem getting anything done with in the past 10 years here in the state of Delaware.
Absolutely.
And prior to that. Again, good luck with your campaign.
Thank you.
And they just ignore everything. You know, the grievance process, the medical process, the disciplinary process. We could go down the list, man. That place is hopeless without us. You know, and we got some people in there now. We got, you know, Senator Pickney, who was here. We got Melissa Minor Brown in there. You know, we got all kinds of people. All right, Ms. Wilson Anton, she's in there. There's a lot of people, and there's more people coming in this election cycle. You know, to feel the way we are, the thing is that we got to push.
Right.
You know, you're not going to get anything for free. You all got my number. You all got my email. Let's get this stuff organized and start moving it forward, so that when it comes election time, we can be proud of the people that are actually getting elected.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do. I want to thank you all for coming, and I need to close in prayer because we can't do nothing without closing. prayer. Anybody got a closing prayer ready? Josie, why don't you come over here and give us a closing prayer? You're always filled with the Spirit.
Thank you again to Mr. Joe Walls for having this event. Thank you to all the attendees and the speakers who participated in today's event, the Speak Up Convention, Veteran Services, here October the 29th, 2022 at the Newcastle Library in Newcastle, Delaware. I am your host, Simone Love, and next week we will hear brand new episodes of Simone Love, Reality Radio, Dead from Society, Alive for Profit, Voices of the Incarcerated. Brand new episodes you don't want to miss. We'll be talking about prison love, addiction, mental health, and much, much more. So I'll see you back here next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on redmediaradio.com. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.